Hello and welcome to the Pork and Knuckles Show. Fact battle? Right, straight in, Gremlins.
Okay, and you know what the fun part about Gremlins is, apart from all the fun parts in Gremlins, is that you had little to no actual dialogue for the Gremlins and the Mogwai in the original script, but instead they were voiced by Howie Mandel, and he came up with most of what they said on the spot, kind of repeating words that they heard in the same scene, and he did these voiceovers for multiple language versions. He didn't only voice the Gremlins in the English version, they specifically mentioned the German edition of the film that I watched. In the bar scene, in the German dub of the film, they start singing genuine German bar songs, and they were voiced by Howie Mandel himself.
Wow, right. Daniel Clamp was inspired by then Mr. Billionaire Donald Trump. The actual building was Trump Towers, his keef, Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that Daniel Clamp sounds like an STD to begin with, so... Okay, I have the Daniel Clamps, I gotta leave this video early. Speaking of early, an early attempt to play the Gremlins were not puppets, because puppets are expensive, so they used monkeys, real-life monkeys. And the problem with these monkeys were, as you might imagine, if I were to just start taking a Gremlin's mask and full-on Gremlin's helmet and put it on a monkey's head, that monkey might not like this and start defecating around the whole office, running around, screaming, yelling, which is why I will then decide, well, let's rather not use monkeys and hire a puppeteer for this. And it was actually Joey Dante's office that they tore apart after this failed try.
Did you know that the Gremlins was almost played by monkeys? However, expanding on his fact, they were only going to be used for the crowd scenes, not these specific one-on-one shots. These
must have been puppets in the first place. And expanding on this fact even more is that the coloring in Gizmo's face was directly inspired by Steven Spielberg's personal dogs.
Wonderful.
Especially the patch, the fur around the eyes.
Kingston Falls and Hill Valley. So this is from Back to the Future. It's the same set.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same set. So cool. Also budgetary reasons.
Maybe slightly. What I loved about Gremlins 2, I have to spoil it in this instance, is the scene where the Gremlins take over the movie theater in which you are watching this scene until the Hulkster comes in and calms the Gremlins down. This was amazing. I mean, at first people were strange that they thought the movie had burned because movies were then not distributed on hard drives but on actual film. But when Gremlins 2 was then released for home viewing on VHS, they changed this scene. They changed the effect from a burning film to a malfunctioning VHS cassette, which then led to people returning this rental VHS tape to the stores in droves, demanding a proper copy, and they had a lot of difficulty with returns for the film and with the profits because people kept returning the movie and wanting refunds until they figured out, oh, that was intentional.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes,
If you skip to 1 minute and 23 seconds in Gremlins 2, the shot of Metropolis is from Superman. They recycled it because it was the same production house. So they said, right, we don't need this in the Superman movies, and so there's Superman and there's Back to the Future in Gremlins. What else? And monkeys, apparently.
For how long have we been doing this show? This is the first time that you have a fact that I like.
Excellent news, I win. He has forfeited, I win.
Wait, but speaking of, after we talked about the joke notes by studio heads with the Back to the Future production, there was one of these with Gremlins as well, because one of the studio notes to Joey Dante and Steven Spielberg after seeing the first cut was that, and I quote, there were too many Gremlins in the film.
Okay. I'm gonna...
The first one, but Steven Spielberg then suggested just cutting them all out and naming the film People.
So the secret ingredient to the VFX effects was balloons.
Yes.
When Mogwai popped out of Gizmo's body, this was on a balloon. But an invisible balloon. I don't know how they made it invisible.
I think they
maybe
must have
along the string or something.
They just cut they pasted all the fur on it, and I think they must have had the balloon below the table. And I imagine this assistant having to lean below the table,
let go of the balloon,
blow up the balloon to create. So
there we
this
go,
effect
balloons.
of them.
So monkeys, recycled footage from Superman, Back to the Future set, balloons. Lovely. What a great recycled masterpiece.
Yes.
And on that note,
I still have a number one.
No, you don't. You were first.
Do.
You were first.
Yeah, but then you still have to have one other as well.
No, I gave 5.
No.
I gave 5.
I gave 4.
I gave 5.
The dialogue with the Gremlins and Mogwai, the monkeys, the malfunctioning VHS, the studio notes. I still have one left. The studio notes were the people.
Oh my god.
I still have one, and it's my favorite one, so I don't want to miss this. When you watch the first movie, you might notice that Gizmo doesn't do quite much in the second half of the movie. He just runs around, he just drives in this car. It's only reaction shots from him, and this has a reason. Because in the first draft of the script, Strife, the bad kid of Gizmo, didn't exist. The first plan was to have Gizmo being the one gremlin that turns evil and is then, in the end, killed by Billy. But in order for them to, milk the cash cow and create toys, they needed to have this cute animal, so they decided to have a villain Mogwai in the film as well, and Billy kills the villain then in the end, or in a continued effort. But Gizmo, there was actually no plan for Gizmo, and rather than rewriting the entire script, they just inserted him in some random shots just to remind the audience to say, he still exists.
That was his 6th fact, so I'm going to say one more.
No, it was my 5th. You only had 4 because I stole your monkeys.
Gremlins sued Furby. That's it.
This was unlicensed.
Thank you for watching. Take care.
Such obvious knockoff.
That was brilliant.
Speaking of things being obvious, see you next week.
Take care. And now 6 of me will come out because I...
Oh god, no! Oh no! Oh god, no! No, I'll take everything back. I will never feed you after midnight. I will never make you wet ever again. Hello and welcome to the Pork and Knuckles Show, and hopefully never the Pork and 7 Knuckles Show, where we talk. I will not give you this. I think this would end badly for the rest of this video. Would do. Yes. Please be mindful.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Straight away, they get into the rules. There's no messing around. 3 rules set. My favorite character in the whole movie was the Chinese guy, actually. He's just cool, amazing, calm, collected. Like, he's a G.
He's like the Gandalf of the movie.
Yeah, he is.
With the long grey hair and with the pipe.
But what... Gremlins are basically just going mental. Drinking, gambling, smashing bars, somehow speaking in English. Fluent English. Oh god. Gremlins, yeah. My god. And this very gerbil kind of thing. What's going on there?
Like hairy monsters that just look very disgusting and you have no idea how you should actually feel them. This is a strange concept. But speaking of the 3 rules, I have to address these 3 rules. I know that they make fun of their own 3 rules in the second movie, but I still want to address a few key things. First, don't expose them to light. This was actually not a rule made for the Gremlins, but for the production, as these Gremlins they made cost like 40 grand each, so these puppets were expensive. And in order to cut down on production cost, they like to keep them in the shadows, so you don't see every single little detail, which is why they came up with this rule that they had to be in the dark. I like this. I also like, the fact that you should not feed them after midnight. They pointed out, but it's always after midnight at some point.
What if they get food stuck into their teeth? And
exactly, they said that in the second, but I'm saying, you know, there's a German proverb that says kein Bier vor vier, which means no beer before 4, and we're still unclear whether that is a reservation of time or age. But still, this time constraint doesn't make any proper sense, especially with don't get wet. This is so stupid. This is the stupidest one of all these rules. You have Signs, this atrocity by M. Night Shyamalan, where aliens who are hydrophobic and killed by water, spoiler, I just saved you a crappy movie, and they go to a planet that consists of 77% water, that has, you know, humidity in the air. Why don't the Gremlins react to the H2O molecules in the air that they breathe in?
Maybe it's not wet enough. Ask the Chinaman.
These are, but still, I love the fact, and this is what Joey Dante once said, he never wanted to do a sequel for Gremlins.
There shouldn't have been a sequel, there shouldn't have been a first one.
He never wanted to make one, but the studio, because they made so much money with the first one and all the merchandise, gee, what a surprise, basically made him do one. They demanded so often that he gave in under the premise that he can make the sequel exactly how he wanted it to be. And he then turned in a sequel the studio head saw and say, well, we didn't want that. Because he made fun of everything.
But, you know, the second one, the Gremlins get bigger. Much bigger. Are they bats? Like semi-bats, semi-lizards?
Of course there is a bat gremlin. This movie has Christopher Lee.
Gremlins. It's gotta be bats. And then, yeah, Gremlins are still these mentalists who just go around drinking and smashing stuff up. But yeah, are Gremlins good? Are they good? Is there any good in
Gizmo is kind of good. But you know what?
He's cute, but is there kind of a good side to a gremlin?
No.
Are they like teenagers?
No, it's really dangerous. They are teenagers. Of course they are. But I think with teenagers it's more like never talk to them before 12 a.m. and don't give them drugs or something. But you know what my favorite line in both the Gremlins movies is?
Go on.
It's said by Christopher Lee, where he opens the package and sees, oh, rabies. I already have rabies. I was expecting to get the flu this week.
Yes,
this was so fun. Christopher Lee was amazing in the second movie. We had basically Grandpa Monster from the Monsters as the Dracula kind of guy, or from the Addams Family. I'm such an idiot. This is amazing what they put in for the kind of references, but I have to agree, I love the second one for the humor, but I think it went maybe a little bit too far with the glasses wearing, overly smart,
microwave,
annoying,
in a shredder, what's going on? Oh, it's talking on this video, it's you that's talking! My God, and on that note, right, we're done. Thank you for watching.
That was not even 6 minutes.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. That's it.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Take care.
Hello and welcome to the Pork and Knuckles Show, where you can have two ugly monsters talking about movies with way more than two ugly monsters. Seriously, it's time for the Ghoulies, and by God, do they suck!
Ghoulies was great. What are you talking about? Ghoulies 4 was terrible. Ghoulies 3 was terrible. 1 and 2 were brilliant.
You like Ghoulies?
I loved
1?
it. Absolutely. Ghoulies was so good.
I
It's
get
such
it.
a terrible attempt to magic.
Yes.
You're just like, this is actually entertaining because it's so bad. It was brilliant. I really liked it.
What you need to know as a background is that the first Ghoulies was produced by the Band family. They were Empire Pictures. They then went on to become Full Moon Entertainment, made the Puppet Master films and everything else. And what they loved to do was sell movies internationally when they only have a poster. No script, no movie, nothing. And they had this idea of a monster coming through the toilet, and this was what got the movie sold. But the problem was, the movie in this case was already shot without this scene. So the entire monster coming out of the toilet scene was later edited into the movie and reshot, and was the main cause of concerns when parents complained to them that their kids are now afraid to go to the toilet because they're going to be eaten by a green ass monster.
Great. Third one was an attempt. Like, what was that big blubber thing that the professor gone? That was... What was that? I don't quite understand this. Basically, the third one was a professor going mental with the Ghoulies, and then some college kids. That was it. Fourth one... Why was there even a fourth one? What was the point of that? There were just two random Ghoulies who were good. They weren't even evil. Why?
I have 2 words for you. Jim Wynorski, an amazing director. Everyone who loves trash movies will know Jim Wynorski. And I think... But we need to go... chronologically. We have Ghoulies 1, which I think was rather boring, I have to say. I expected way more entertainment value out of a band production, but then along came Ghoulies 2.
2 was amazing.
I loved Ghoulies 2.
so good.
It was so much better than the first one because it took the entire concept of these inanimate, cheap gremlins rip-off puppets and just gave them so much more fun material to
And it was a
work
great
with and
storyline.
characters.
It was such a good storyline. But I kind of felt... So, remember the guy who fell in the acid and then rises up as a ghoulie? He kind of reminded me of Voldemort. And I was just like, maybe that's where Voldemort's face came into inspiration. And then in the end, when the demon blows up, it's just like... I kind of felt sorry for him because, you know, it's the guy... And he wasn't a bad guy. He was just mistimed. And then swam in some acid thing.
Maybe for
Yeah.
vacation. No,
Yeah.
I loved the carnival setting because it made so much sense to put
So
the
much
Ghoulies
sense.
there. And I have to add one thing: if you're interested in buying Ghoulies 1, don't get the American or the British version because they're only the censored PG-13 version that was made for the American market. This one here, the Austrian Blu-ray, has the R-rated scenes spliced back into the movie, so the more violent scenes from the pulling things, they are much longer in this version, and you might even notice one scene, the toilet scene, because this film, as the first Ghoulies film, has actually someone being killed on a toilet, but this toilet kill was basically nullified in the American version, which is why you can see the screen format changing from widescreen to full screen for a few seconds. This was edited back in from, I think, a Dutch VHS copy of the film. So this is the proper R-rated cut of the film. But let me just say a few words about Ghoulies 3. This is one of the most vile, despicable desecrations of a franchise, even as bad as Ghoulies, that I have ever seen. This was a pain to
Fourth one
sit
was
through.
worse, I think.
No,
Fourth one was worse.
I seriously, the
Really?
first time,
Fourth one was
the
terrible.
first time the Ghoulies started talking in the third one, I spit out my drink and was like, "What the hell is going on here?"
Oh my god.
That was so, and the dialogue was so terrible. The slapstick humor was so god-awfully
It was
bland.
very dry.
This
It
was terrible.
Very dry, and I think on that note,
No
let's-
joke worked. But
no
with
more
the,
dryness,
With the,
come on.
with the fourth, I wanted to say, making these masks as terrible as they are in Troll 2, putting tiny little actors in them and just making them do random things for 80 minutes. Even, didn't this film actually reuse footage from the first? The kind of scene in the basement. They
when he was younger.
reused this, and it's the only proper sequel, actually, to the first one. The other two in the middle basically don't connect, so the fourth one is the only true sequel to the first one, and it's really garbage, but it is terrible. The Jim Wynorski kind of entertaining garbage. This is just garbage.
I don't recommend. I think Ghoulies 2, 1, 4, and then 3.
Yes,
and on
that is my order.
On that note, thank you very much for watching. See you next week.
Take care! Oh wow, did I get to say it this time?
Hello, and welcome to the Poke and Knuckles Show. Right, franchise v franchise. Gremlins v Ghoulies.
Gremlins wins. Good night!
Take care! Ghoulies wins.
What? No.
I see.
You can say
now
that.
He's back.
Yeah, now I'm back. You cannot
right, we
be
have
serious.
Our 5 categories.
What are the categories?
Characters, special effects, the monsters. You've got the storyline, and the humor and the fun factor. Right, we go first. Special effects.
Gremlins wins.
Why?
Because it's proper special effects made by people who know what they're doing.
I quite liked the eyes of the magician in Ghoulies. I'm not gonna lie. That was...
I gotta say, the
that was
special...
the most memorable part.
The Gremlins were conceived by Chris Wallace, who is an amazing artist in the industry. They are great puppets, and I even love the fact that after they were mostly just sitting there being carried in the first Gremlins, they got to walk in the second, but of course they had to exaggerate it a little bit. They started to have a gizmo dance sequence, which I think is just as necessary as a second asshole on your elbow, but I just loved the creativity behind these Gremlins. They are so diverse characters, and the Ghoulies are
I like
more
the
or less...
simplicity of the Ghoulies. I like it. They're just 2 guys in a costume. 2 little guys in a costume running around causing havoc. Brilliant. I think my point will go to Ghoulies. My point is going to Ghoulies.
But at least I gotta give the Ghoulies this. I usually love the B-movie kind of low-budget filmmaking efforts, and I think some of the Ghoulies are kind of cute. I like the Ghoulies, especially in the second one, but I think the biggest problem that will turn up multiple times is there is a Ghoulies 3, which... Ugh.
Right, so you're to Gremlin, I'm to Ghoulie. Characters. Human characters.
Human characters. Let me think. Gremlins.
It has to be. It's the Chinaman. He wins it.
The Chinaman is brilliant.
The Chinaman wins it.
No, also for me, it's also Christopher Lee in the second one. It's I also loved the Raymond Peltzer guy in the first movie with all his crappy inventions that never worked. This was so much genuine fun, especially since Hoyt Axton, the actor who played this character, basically ad-libbed all of his dialogue. He basically just stuck to the structure of the script, but then did his own thing. And I think this is something, this fantasy, this imagination, is something that you can see and feel when you watch these movies.
Alright, so Gremlin for you too. Storyline? Storyline.
The storyline
has to go to Ghoulies.
Gremlins.
Ghoulies 2 storyline is better than all of the movies we're discussing. It is such a great storyline for the fit of the characters. It is so cool. Right, these crazy monster-looking people have a carnival and a haunted house. They fit perfectly. Brilliant. For me, Ghoulies gets the storyline. Just because of Ghoulies 2. Only because of Ghoulies 2, Ghoulie gets it.
You know what? I would love to agree with you on this one. Ghoulies 2 has a cool storyline.
It's brilliant.
I actually would like to choose Ghoulies 2 for this as well, but then Ghoulies 3 exists. And I also have to say I love the setting of Gremlins 2 with this millionaire mastermind over the top guy. I love this guy's acting in the film, which goes back to the characters. I think as stupid. No, you know what? I'm going with Ghoulies as well for this one, just for the fact that the storyline of Gremlins is based around these 3 rules that are just complete horse manure.
It is, and then next we have the fun factor, the humor. The fun factor. I don't know. I thought both of them were not fun.
Really?
Both of them were not fun. But then again, Ghoulies 2 was better than Gremlins 1 and 2. So for me, Ghoulies 2 was fun to watch. It was a really enjoyable movie. And Ghoulies 3 and 4 were a disgrace. But Ghoulies 2 was fun. More enjoyable than Gremlins 2 and 1. Gremlins 2 I think was a massive drag. Gremlins 1, oh yeah, these cute people and then they go mental completely. And then it's quite funny when the Gremlins come out and just start drinking and gambling and smashing things up. But Ghoulies 2, Ghoulies may get this just because of Ghoulies 2. Really?
No,
Ghoulies.
In this case, I have to say I'm a huge fan of director Joey Dante. He is amazing. You can imagine Joey Dante being kind of like John Landis. They have an outlandish style of humor that brings so much joy, so many sweet and tiny little references to other films into their work. I loved to tear every single scene of both Gremlins apart just to find the little homages, details and things.
That's
let
quite
alone
cool.
Only,
That's quite cool.
and if only for the scene of the film ripping in Gremlins 2, even for this scene where they tie Gizmo to the dartboard and throw darts at it.
Actually, that's quite funny.
The funny thing is this, or when I loved more in the second part when they put him on the photocopier because he doesn't like the right light. You know what? The producers of the film, they hated Gizmo so much because the puppet kept malfunctioning that they really did make a list of horrible things we want to do to Gizmo, and then worked most of these ideas into the second film and just had this done. So this is Gremlins.
Wow,
this is so much Gremlins.
Now is the the monsters, the Ghoulies or the
monsters,
Gremlins.
Ghoulies or
Well,
Gremlins.
this is the problem is, I get it why Ghoulies, low budget film, they just get 2 small people, put them in a costume.
But they only did that for the 4th. The little people was only in the 4th.
And I quite found that funny. I was just like, this is brilliant. This is
so
really
stupid.
trying to stretch it at the bare minimum. But I think the detail in the monsters has to go to Ghoulies. The detail is so much better. Ghoulies has better monsters. They are scarier looking. That's it. They're more scarier looking than Gremlins.
I gotta admit, I mean, I'm the first one to look behind the fact that the Ghoulies just look cheap because they were cheap, because it's a cheap production. But still, actually, I think I've seen the Gremlins films for the 2nd time in my entire life, so it's not a film that accompanied my whole childhood, but it's still, the Gizmo face is something I will never forget. And also, I will not forget the mean Mogwai's faces, like Stripe in the first movie, with this tiny little Maxwell Sheffield thing and the little gash. And even though they had so many of these basically same animals in the second one especially, they made them so diverse, so funny. They just explored the concept of what to do with these monsters so well. And the Ghoulies were just there.
But Ghoulies were just in more detail.
Yeah, but you should also argue, where do all these monsters come from? They look so different.
From the monster factory.
They have to be like 70 different species, but it's never explained as to who or what they are.
You'll never know. You'll never know. I mean,
but
you'll never know.
I like the concept of the Ghoulies when you just forget that this exists, but this Gremlins. 100%.
Okay, we have a problem. You have 3 for Gremlins, 2 for 1 for
No,
4
one.
for Gremlins,
4 to 1, and the 1.
and same for me, 4 for Ghoulies and 1 for Gremlin. But this is
Holy Christ.
and the one we agreed on was the storyline that Ghoulies 2 it has a better storyline. That's.
You know what? I gotta say one more thing. It took me a little over a year of doing this show with you. The first months that we did, you were always like, "Oh my God, these rip-offs and these crap movies! I cannot stand them. I cannot watch
But if
them."
the initial ones are so bad, what do you expect?
After 1 year, you start electing the rip-offs
those.
on
I'm
top
saying.
of the Gremlins. I say the deed is done. This is my Christmas present to you all, to you especially. Come enjoy so many more bad movies with me in the next year. Hopefully you liked this year of the Pork and Knuckles show, and be sure to stay subscribed to the channel because next year will go even crazier!
Happy New Year and take care.